Welcome, welcome. My name is Alex. I am a senior team lead for our community support team. I am joined today by Colin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Colin. I work on the support team as well, and I'm a manager. Thanks for
Uh,
joining.
Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about how you can leverage member feedback. As I was saying, as people were joining us, we're going to talk about how your event attendees submit feedback. We are going to talk about how you can look up that feedback, where you can find it, and how you can analyze it in order to host more engaging events. Before we dive in, as always, we'd like to go through some guidelines so that you know what to expect. First and foremost, this event will be recorded. We'll be sharing it on the blog in a few days. You do not appear in the video. Your cameras have been muted and your audio has also been courtesy muted. So all you should be seeing and hearing during the video today are Colin, myself, or our slideshow presentation. However, questions are welcomed and in fact, a crucial part of what we do here in these Meetup live sessions. So if you do have questions, either about the feature or just generally about your Meetup experience, feel free to submit them. There's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We also have some support specialists on call today to answer questions in real time. There is also closed captioning available, and if you'd like to turn that on, simply click the live transcription icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can select your preference. Today, like I said, we'll do a brief introduction. We'll spend some time talking about not just member feedback features, but some new features that we've rolled out to make this a little more accessible and a little more useful for organizers. And then we'll make time at the end to answer some live Q&A. We also like to make some time at the end to share some resources and links so that if we don't get to your question today, you always have access to our community support team and we can work with you directly in order to improve your organizing experience. So as I keep saying today, we're going to talk about how your attendees submit feedback, where you can find and review those responses. And then we've also got some ideas for strategies, not only for identifying patterns in your feedback, but how you can actually adjust your events and host them in the future so that you have higher show up rates, you have higher RSVPs, and stronger connections between your attendees. Just helps to improve and build that community for you. All right, without further ado, we're just going to jump right in. Sometimes we start with the product updates at the top here, but we're going to save that to the end today because the event feedback overview page is a brand new feature that we really want to draw some attention to. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the new centralized hub for group feedback. So as you may have noticed, over the last few, when you go page, you probably have seen the star ratings right under the title for group homepage. So these star ratings are an average score of all. If you click on the star ratings, it's going to bring you to this new event feedback overview page. And on that page, you can take a closer look at the statistics of the feedback that's been submitted. And if you scroll down on that page, you can actually take a look at the summaries for specific events. You can inspect individual feedback responses for those events. Now, I've seen in the chat as we were getting ready, someone was suggesting that they wanted to see the feedback on the event homepage itself. This doesn't quite scratch that itch, but it does give you the specialized feedback for individual events. So again, that's you go to this event overview page, and we're going to walk through how to get there in just a moment. You go to the event overview page, scroll down, you can take a look at the specific reviews for each event. One thing that we do want to call attention to is right now, this feature is only visible to group organizers and your leadership team members. The reason for that is right now we're treating this as a tool for people hosting your events. This isn't necessarily an attraction for like new members and new attendees joining your group. This is a tool for you to improve on the feedback that you are hearing and really like create a good baseline. It's possible that in the future, those ratings will be visible to members of your group, but right now we're just treating this as sort of like a specialized internal tool for you and your leadership team members to sort of adjust and tweak how you're hosting your events. So like I said, once you go to that overview page, you can take a closer look at the feedback for specific events. And it's going to look a little bit like this screenshot here. The specific feedback that you're taking a look at is probably going to include the check-in statistics. If you use the check-in feature on the organizer app, you'll get a breakdown of the ratings that you received from the event. And then the prompt for the feedback that your attendees receive allows them to submit sort of like broad topics about what they liked and then what they didn't like. There's also a prompt where they can submit open-ended feedback. And at the very bottom of your event feedback page, we also have some links to resources that you can use to sort of respond to the feedback you're receiving and adjust future events accordingly. We're going to dig into all of this a little more deeply. But first, I just want to make sure that everybody sees where you can find this information. And to walk us through that, Colin is going to share his screen and share some of the reviews on his own group. So Colin, if you'd like to take it away.
Sure. All right, I'm going to take over screen sharing. All right. So here I am logged into my Meetup account as an organizer. I have this virtual yoga for beginners group. This is something I actually host a few times a week, and we just do yoga together. So I wanted to show you this group because it's a real group and it also has a lot of ratings. I've had it for almost 2 years, I think. So yeah, so you head right over to your group homepage. You can see this like prompt here. If you haven't uh visited your group in a while, you'll see it's just kind of like reminding you to click the stars. We have our Help Center article here where you can learn more about this. But yeah, how to get to the actual overview page is by clicking either the number of reviews or the stars. When you do that, it shows you this overall average of all ratings across all of your events that you've ever had. So I've had quite a number of events in the past 2 years, and which resulted in quite a number of reviews. So overall, I have a 4.5 average, which is I'm happy with, it's always interesting to see what people have to say. I will say that my group might be a little unique because it's online and it's the same format most of the time, where we just kind of just show a video and we do yoga together. I'm sure a lot of you other organizers have maybe very differing events where you're going to restaurants, you're going for walks and hikes, or whatever the activity is. So mine is pretty consistent, but yours might be much more unique. But for my group, I can see 197 with 5 stars, 173 with 4, which is great. A few outliers here where maybe there's misunderstanding on what the event was about. But what's cool, what I find cool about this overview page is that you can see a summary of like what people liked and what went wrong. And if you actually click on what people liked, you can say, I'm just going to click on welcoming host. So it says 148 reviews said that the host was welcoming. So that makes me feel good. I can see all of the times that someone said that the event was a welcoming host. If you go back, you can also click on what went wrong. And then down at the bottom here, there's you can toggle between these two lists. There's all events, which is just showing all the past events that you've hosted and giving a little summary of what the event was rated. And if you actually click into it, then it goes it's specific to the event level. So you can see it's just like my event featured photo, but you can see, okay, 2 people rated the event. One person rated it 4 stars, another person rated it 5 stars. Overall average 4.5. I didn't use the organizer app to track show ups for this event, but if I did, I would be able to see the results here, which is pretty cool. And the check-in feature and tracking attendance has been something you've asked for a long time. So yeah, we're excited to be able to incorporate that into the post-event feedback page. And then if you keep scrolling down, you can see, okay, car rated at 5 stars and rated at 4 stars. And yeah, so it's just like an overall of this specific event. And then if I go back again, this is again on the overview page for my group. I was here on the event tab, but if I click the review tab, then this is just all reviews no matter what the event was. And if you click show all, then it will just show you literally all reviews here. We'll dig more into some of the features on these pages. But I'm gonna give it back to Alex because we have a couple of other slides to show you about some things on these.
Nice. All right. Let's see here. If you want to stop sharing your screen, I think we need to do that before I can. Yeah, there we go. Thanks. Cool. Okay. And we are back in here. Cool. So now that we've taken a look at the overview for the page and the overview for individual events, the next thing we wanted to show you is how your attendees are actually submitting that feedback. And our colleague Janine is going to be posting in the chat some links to give you access to Help Center articles that can kind of walk you through some of this. Janine, if you actually want to go ahead and post the third link too about sharing feedback about an event, that's going to be relevant to this next slide as well. So this is just a glimpse of what your attendees are seeing after the events. They'll get either a prompt in the Meetup app, on the Meetup website, and sometimes they'll get an email if they haven't logged in, and we just want to make sure we kind of capture that prompt. I think that's accurate. But this is the feedback submission form here on the right. We've got a picture of it here for you. So they get an opportunity to submit a star rating. They get an opportunity to select those tiles to share what they liked. And you saw when Colin was looking at his overview page, he could check how often he was receiving like the welcoming host icon there. And we do tell people that sharing feedback is optional. They're not required to do so, but once it's submitted, it can't be edited. And we also, because obviously we know sometimes people will RSVP, so we'll send them the invitation to submit feedback, but we can't always capture if they were no-shows. So we give them the opportunity to just register like, oh, they didn't even attend. And we register as well that in some cases, people are submitting feedback when they didn't attend the event. We'll address what you can do in that situation as well.
One thing I wanted to call out
sure.
on this was that if the member selects either 1-star or 2-star, then the options there to select what went wrong will change. So right now in the screenshot, you can see it was rated 3 stars. And so because it was good, we'll show them what did you like, and then they can pick that. However, if they rated the event as poor or fair, then we figured there's something that could be improved on, and we changed the options to maybe like the things that could have been better for them to select. So just something to call out there.
Yeah, and the purpose here isn't to be critical. The purpose is to be constructive. So the suggestions that we offer are framed in such a way that you and your leadership team members will have like actionable stuff that you can try to work on in the future. But again, we recognize, different feedback is going to be submitted for different reasons. So the next step is, what do you do with the feedback you've received? How do you read it? How do you analyze it? How do you identify patterns? And how do you then act on that? So first and foremost, on the event feedback overview page, not the event specific ones, but the overall summary page, we've got some features that will allow you to filter those feedback summaries and even to sort them. You can filter them by the number of stars, whether or not you received written feedback, and you can also sort by how recently they submitted that feedback. So the reason why it might be important to do that is, as you were seeing with Colin's group, which has been open for, as he said, close to 2 years, you start getting hundreds of events. Some groups are hosting events daily, so they accumulate a lot of feedback very quickly. So if you're trying to review all of your feedback at once, it can get overwhelming very quickly. Focusing on specific subsets can help you to target specific you know, I don't know about you, but when I go onto like product websites, like if like say Amazon, you know, like just looking at the 1-star reviews can be interesting, but it isn't always useful. So then you might want to just focus on like, okay, well, the 1-stars are like those people are going to have strong complaints, and maybe it just wasn't the group for them anyway. So it's not as if that feedback is necessarily the most actionable. So then you can dismiss the 1-star reviews if that's relevant for you, and take a closer look at the 2-star reviews, because that might be someone who is a little bit more in the intersection of like, this is someone who's interested in the group, but it's someone who saw things that could be about the kinds of reviews you're reacting to, can start to help in that regard. Another feature that we have built in to this feedback summary is the ability to message members who have submitted that feedback. And this can serve two purposes. One of which is, as we've talked about in previous Meetup Lives, all of our communication tools are an important way to engage your attendees. It helps them feel more welcomed. It helps them to feel more encouraged to participate in future events. But with critical feedback, that constructive criticism that we're trying to elicit, if there's room for improvement, communicating directly with them might be a really valuable way to get more details about what they wish was different. Or if perhaps there was just a misunderstanding about what they were supposed to expect at the event, what they were looking for, it gives them an opportunity to sort of clarify their critiques and get on the same page with what it is that your group offers, what it is that your events offer, and what they can expect to receive there. Vice versa, it might also be that they submitted some feedback that wasn't clear to you, and they are able to articulate it a little more specifically if you're communicating with them and you're saying, oh, absolutely, I should have had paper plates at my event. That's like a really easy and actionable thing. So the ability to communicate with members who have submitted the feedback is available in a drop-down menu on the event-specific feedback page. And last but not least, in that same drop-down menu, there's the opportunity to report feedback. And we built this in because we wanted to make sure that organizers had some remedy in case the rare possibility of someone submitting a review in bad faith happens. So obviously we hope this doesn't impact your groups, but if you see a review that is just totally irrelevant, it's from someone who didn't attend the event, something like that, you can report that feedback and our trust and safety team will investigate. They can take action on your group's behalf. The goal is not to create this feature to make your group seem less attractive. It's actually the exact opposite. So the reporting of the feedback is an important way to make sure that you have healthy feedback, not just all positive, because you want some of that constructive feedback just to make sure that your group is like evolving in healthy ways and inviting new members and any of that stuff that's the stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think of because you're waiting for that outside experience and that outside feedback. But in the off chance that someone has submitted a piece of feedback that just isn't suitable for your group and it's dragging down your rating in bad faith, using this drop-down menu to report feedback can help address that. We want to get a closer look at how to identify the stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, Colin, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because the star rating on your group homepage is not visible to your members, having 1-star ratings doesn't always feel great, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't necessarily make your group look bad publicly, at least right now with this feature, because only your leadership team can see the average. So as disappointing as it can be to get like a couple 1-star reviews, this report feedback feature is really only those for like situations that members are just taking advantage of that.
Yeah, your mileage may vary, but I kind of find when I find like there's 1-star review, it says more about the person submitting the review and it actually helps give you a more complete picture about what the group is. Because totally. They might be complaining about something that I find really appealing about a group. So it's just yeah, it's a tricky subjective feature, and that's why we want to make sure that you are sort of empowered to explore it and sift through it in your own way. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, I'll show when
Yeah,
you're
let's
ready.
take
I
a look.
can show my screen and cool. All right. So yeah, we're back on this overview page, but I wanted to dig in a little more about how to see and filter and sort everything. So one thing I wanted to show you which I like is you can just click either any of the stars and it will automatically sort stuff for you. So I'll click on the 4 stars. And when I click that, I can see all ratings and reviews with 4 stars. So that's cool because it automatically selects the 4 star one for me. And once you're on this page, you can just continue to select different options. I have a 1 star here. So, this person said, not as described, didn't meet anyone. So good feedback, but didn't leave like actual feedback comments, which I think is a really awesome feature that we actually fairly recently added. We didn't have the ability for people to write uh like open fielded responses. We just allowed them to give a star rating. So this is a new thing. And so it's nice when people take the time to like write something. Sometimes it's just thank you. This was actually a great piece of feedback. I got maybe once or twice a week, start at 7 o'clock. I just have to be off this week. So I'm like, oh, great. So I know like people's availability. I got this one. This event really helped my back pain. And I actually reached out to Shonda just to say thank you. Going off of the message members uh, um, feature, when you click that, it'll bring you directly to a chat with that member, and then you can see you can just tell them thank you. Yeah, so it's cool to be able to sort and filter. Yeah, just it's encouraging. This I showed you all. This is with the feedback comments, and then this is the sort one. So you can have a filter here, but also say highest rated or lowest rated. And then you can click oldest and most recent. So that's cool. Going back here, I think you can also, if you click on what people liked, so welcoming host, you can also sort by here as well. So you can see like the highest rated, oldest, all the way back in, well, I guess just earlier this year, February. What else? I think that pretty much covers it. Oh yeah, and then of course here's the report feedback button. If you click it, you'll be prompted to go through and select what exactly you're reporting. I'm not gonna add. Hopefully these tools are helpful. Did I miss anything, Alex?
No, I do think it's worth clarifying, as with the other reporting features on Meetup, we don't necessarily follow up with the reports and let you know what the outcome of it was. And we can't guarantee that we'll like remove a negative review. If it is like determined to be like egregious and violating our terms of service, like we'll definitely take action. It's really important to us that communities feel safe in continuing to meet, and that it includes these ratings, because that can create obviously like a hostile environment for potential new attendees or for you as the organizer. But typically we do not follow up and confirm the outcome of those investigations. That extends to spam reports, individual like private message reports, anything like that. So it just functions very similar to our existing reporting features.
Let you take over.
All right, and now we're going to take a look at some resources for what you can do once you've got this information. Say, like, let's leverage the piece of feedback that Colin got about finding a different time to adjust. So if your goal goal is just to boost your star rating and make sure you get from like a 4.5 to a 4.7. The best way to do that is actually just to host more events and collect more feedback. So identifying the feedback you're receiving in the what went wrong section can help you identify key areas. You know, that's part of the reason why we group those icons so that you can see in volume, oh, I'm really seeing a lot of like this particular piece of feedback. And then once you've identified some of those what went wrong patterns, either by checking those icons or by reading through the written reviews, the next thing you can do is check some of the strategies. Now, in the Help Center articles that Janine shared earlier, if you scroll down to the bottom of the reviewing your ratings article, I believe, it links to some other articles on the Meetup Community Matters blog that sort of talk more about these strategies. And I just wanted to kind of give a broad overview about some of the ideas that are kind of like nestled in those articles. They're worth reading through because we've collected a lot of ideas from a lot of organizers over the years. Some key ones that I think apply to a lot of the like what went wrong suggestions for this feedback feature. First of all, if you know that there are members who are regularly not attending your events, maybe they're RSVPing and not note, and they end up always being a no-show. You are empowered as organizers to remove inactive members. We've talked in previous Meetup Lives about establishing in your group description an expectation that if you're a no-show a certain number of times, that members can expect to be removed. Here at Meetup on our end, we treat that as just like general group member list hygiene, making sure that the people who are participating in your group are invested, are participating, and are, you know, reliable members of your community. The same goes for disruptive members. You can set the same expectations about how people participate in communications, how they participate in the events themselves, and that can even extend to reviews. That doesn't mean like shut down constructive criticism next week. It does mean like if somebody is spreading information or if they're just generally being offensive and insulting, you're not required to tolerate that, and you can remove them from your group. We have some articles also about how to reinvigorate groups. For instance, we often get the question about what to do if your group was created before the pandemic down, and now everything's opening back up again, going again. Our robust communication strategy, targeting the specific communication tools on Meetup that work for your members, that they're likeliest to receive and respond to. We have some ideas about how you can explore that, and it's worth going through the blog, finding our communication strategies articles. Again, it's all linked in the Help Center article on the event feedback overview page. So we've got it sort of centralized for you. Another option for your event. So either a location that's closer, a brighter venue that can really facilitate more conversation or whatever activity that you're doing together in your event. Finding a better venue can really start boosting some of that event feedback. Same can also be said for online events, like maybe the Zoom link that you're using, maybe Zoom just like isn't working for your group and you want to switch to a different video conferencing platform. Another one, and it sort of links into the communication strategy idea, this is more of like a strategy idea than a technical idea, is being transparent with your group members and your attendees about what it takes, what it is that you're trying to accomplish in host events. Being transparent about like, okay, I'm trying to bring this many chairs, I'm trying to bring this many people and these kind of drinks. The more that you share that kind of stuff, the likelier you are to find people who volunteer to help you on your leadership. And last but not least, and this is such a broad one, but it's worth hammering home because it's sort of like the reason for Meetup to exist is encouraging real connections at your events. There's all kinds of icebreakers that people do. There's all kinds of like collaborative tasks that people do at these events just so that you feel like you are really like making bonds and making friendships and getting to know people in this community. Did you want to add to that,
No,
Colin? It looked like there
I'm
was
just
something you
agreeing
were.
mostly. For me, it just really comes down to
Okay.
just being transparent with, your entire group and your members, and also being open to feedback outside of this feedback feature. And if you get feedback in person, at the event, like listen, and even like reaching out with your other comms tools to ask people to rate your events, even or just respond with how they liked it, if they have any feedback. There's a lot of ways to kind of engage your members and to get that information out of them without expecting them to use this post event if you're really open to receiving and implementing feedback to make your events the best they can be.
That's a great point. And I think that goes back to being transparent too, that it's like the more that you communicate with your attendees, that the feedback they share with you will have a positive impact, that they'll give you ideas and that they'll be implemented.
Yeah,
Um,
and
I
making it
think,
a safe space for them to also
yeah,
share.
yeah. And we, frankly, like we try to do the same thing here with feature requests, trying to communicate to people that the ideas that they have for improving Meetup get implemented and that we're really listening. Same thing goes, is true for your individual wants to detail the ideas surrounding each of these. So it's worth digging into those. We'll be sharing links. These are going to be part of the resources we're sharing at the very end. And so I'm not going to dwell on this for too long, but if you don't have your phone on you, it's worth making sure you've got it for the end of our event today. We are going to have some Q have as part of this blog our guide and see more people groups in lots of different locations that share a unified theme. Meetup Pro is a really great tool for doing that. And the organizer guide can walk you through how you can expand your local groups on a more global scale that way with Meetup Pro. And we also have a page in the blog that will give you some updates on the latest features that we're rolling out. Sometimes we're just announcing that we have redesigned and amped up an existing feature. Sometimes we'll tell you that there's a brand new feature rolling out. And sometimes we'll tell you about little fixes and little tweaks. Sometimes it's just cosmetic. It's just all designed to make your life as an organizer a little easier and a little more efficient. To that end, Colin is actually going to take us through some of the latest product updates briefly, and then we'll make time for the Q&A.
All
So,
right. Yeah, so the first one is about our new member profiles. This is right now just in the apps, the iOS and Android apps. It's a redesigned way of looking at your profile and also other members' profiles. We have some new sections. That one of them is the looking to section, where in your profile settings, you can say like what you're looking to do on Meetup. You can be looking to practice hobbies, professionally network, make friends, socialize. You can also see shared groups and shared interests when you look at other members' profiles. Now, this I believe this part of the shared groups and shared interests is for organizers and Member Plus subscribers. Just keep in mind that members have full control over what appears and what doesn't appear on their profile. And we're working on redesigning our group member profile pages on the web. So more to come on that, but it will be probably something similar. And yeah, and then the next one is also something that the Member Plus team has worked on. This is where you can see a detailed list of your attendees that are coming to your event. You can see what they're looking to do and the shared interests. That you can also see, as an organizer, you can also see if the member is attending for the first time. So you can pay extra special attention to them. And yeah, that's right now on the Android app and the web. We're still working on launching this on the iOS app. And then the next thing, we're actually planning to launch this quite soon. I think within the next week or two, hopefully. This is hybrid events, and this will be available to pro organizers. The idea of hybrid events is that you can host an event that is both in person and online. And this has been a really popular request for a long time. And we're excited to finally be able to build it. It's been a big, huge project. So yeah, stay tuned for that, but and keep an eye out for that for pro organizers. And I think that's it for the project updates. And we of course have our organizer app. So if you haven't downloaded that yet, scan that QR code, and it's a great way of editing and managing your group on the go.
This is actually a great segue into the first question that we're going to address as part of the Q&A, which comes now. So I'm just going to leave up this slide about the organizer app before I really move on. The first question we got, and thank you everybody for submitting your questions. If you have more, keep them coming. We got a couple minutes. We can try to knock out a few. Jorgen had asked, I do not see the show up results, and they're referring to the show up results on the specific event page. Colin referenced the fact that he wasn't using the check-in feature, and that's why he wasn't seeing the show up results, when we were taking a look at the feature. Janine's going to post in the chat a link to a Help Center article called Checking in Attendees. And this is a feature that is specific to the organizer app. It's one of the ways that you can leverage like the relationship between the different platforms. The reason why the check-in feature exists exclusively on the app is that it's designed so that as you're on the go, you're like literally at your event. You don't want your whole computer there. So you can very quickly mark people who have shown up or people who are no-shows, and you can accumulate some statistics on how people are turning up for your events. Once those statistics show up, you'll get a little like circle graph bar that shows you the number of people who showed up versus the number of people who didn't, the number of people who were no-shows. It just adds to the scope of information that you are receiving about your events. So be sure to check out that Help Center article on checking in attendees. We've got a nice animated GIF that'll show you how it works in action. So thank you very much for that question. Cool. It looks like we have not received too many other questions yet. We've got one that came in from Peter, who had mentioned that Colin was not reporting a 5-star rating.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Peter quoted me. He said, "Oh, he's quoting when I said I'm not going to actually report this because it's a 5-star." That was when I was demonstrating how to report a review. And
yeah.
he said, Peter said, "Really? What if it's from someone who didn't attend the event?" Well, that's completely up to you, Peter. You can report it if you want. I was just giving a demonstration on how to report the rating if you want to. But in that situation, Carr was actually at my event, and so there's no reason to report the 5-star if he actually showed up. And I don't fully understand your question, but that was my perspective. Yeah. So
I think it does sort of go. I'm sorry.
Where you need to report a 5-star, you totally can. It's just
Yeah, and this is sort of what I was saying before about it being sort of a subjective experience because it didn't attend. Like I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And whether they want to report it or not is if it's like an accurate 5-star